Yeah, Friday. What's up, everybody? Friday morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. I hope everybody had a great trading day yesterday. It was a tumultuous day. We saw some really strong movements in the equity markets as well as some of our currencies and commodities. I mean, the whole thing. The markets just had some big moves yesterday. And when we have big moves like that, oftentimes what it's going to do is set up for a tremendous amount of opportunity, but it's typically going to cut through a couple of levels, and we're going to see some of that today. There's some precedents for what happened yesterday earlier in the year, so we can talk about, is this move down going to continue? I don't know. Nobody knows. Anybody who says they know, I don't necessarily agree with them. However, what I can do is I can set up positions to react to what may happen in the markets. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. It really means a lot. If you're a returning viewer, comment down below. Question of the day. What were your thoughts yesterday when the market came hammering down? Were you feeling like, okay, here we go? Were you feeling like it's about time? Were you feeling like panicking? Let us know. I think it's really good to see, what was your mindset as the markets were doing that? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So starting with the S&P, we are up about half a point. Basically, we're flat this morning. I will say when I opened up the computer a few minutes ago, we were doing a little bit better than we are now, but we are seeing a bit of a rollover. Now, yesterday we had a very strong breakdown below this for 35.53 level, pretty much as expected. We expected a move down, but I will tell you, I expected a move down, and I thought that we might get a little bit of a bounce here at this 35.29, but that was a confirmation entry because it wasn't the strongest. But I did feel like this 35.13 area was a fairly strong level where we may see some support. One of the things that we noticed right away, though, was that we just weren't getting the support. And when you look at that on a 15-minute chart, I mean, it didn't even stay in there for 15 minutes. I mean, we hit it and immediately came back up and then dropped right through it. So this level just absolutely fell apart and had no support to it whatsoever. So I know a lot of people took the long on that position, got stopped out as it came back. And by the way, that's a good level. If you're going to get stopped out, that's a good way to get stopped out. But then what did that do? Well, if I go to my 4-hour chart, what that did was it took out my last swing low. It took out another swing low. It took out 3 swing lows on this one 4-hour candlestick. So our trend direction technically has changed once I get a new swing low and a new swing high. Well, we then bounced off of the next lower hourly chart, although once we got to that hourly chart, we kind of chopped around in there before popping up in the overnight. But really, that hourly level, kind of acted as a little bit of support. So now what I need to do is obviously remove all of these areas and look to see what are my levels up above me and where might we see some strength. So I'm going to put a line right here at our Globex low. And the Globex low oftentimes is going to be a place where people take a breakout. Now, I will say this, looking at this current Globex low, looking at the hourly chart, and I've got a 15-minute demand level over here. Let me get me a little bit more time on this 15-minute. I've got a 15-minute demand level over here to the left, and that 15-minute demand level is this base rally, formed right there at the European market open. So it's a pretty good time of the day, but it's a confirmation level because we came really close to it twice. All right, we came close to that level 2 times, got a couple of decent moves away, so that level is still valid. Now, if you take a breakdown at this 34.23, you gotta ask yourself, do I have enough room to roam to make this trade make sense if I take this breakdown? Well, that's going to all depend on where our overhead pivot line is to see if the reward is going to justify the risk that I would have to take. So I think there's still an opportunity here in a market for some basing if you get short on the breakdown below that level here. We are actually putting in a pretty nice pivot right now on the 1-hour chart. This is a fairly clean pivot that in my mind I think is going to continue to fall. So if that occurs and you've got that opportunity here in this late Globex early morning trading, you could get a retest back up to this little 15-minute area right here. And if you're a bit more aggressive, that's not a bad little entry for this morning, is this little zone of supply here up above us. If you choose to be a bit more aggressive, it's not a conservative entry. A more conservative entry is to wait for is to wait for the breakdown down below. But there's money to be made from here all the way down to here. I mean, that's still another 50 points away. I don't know that we're going to get to there today, but once again, I said that yesterday, not knowing where exactly we would get. So I'm going to wrap my lines around this area. This area is a valid reversal for today. Not the best of levels, but it's a very small level in a pretty volatile environment. So your reward to risk is pretty good in that zone. NASDAQ, another one that broke down. I'm just going to go through and delete these demand levels that it blew right through. This was a confirmation entry. It came down to the limit entry, and just like the S&P, hit it and moved away. Now, I will say that we did get a decent bounce off of this. We got about a 3-to-1 move off of this demand area. So if you jumped in front of that at the end of the day and got out, great. And then it gapped down. Actually when in between the Globex session starting and the cash session ending. And so this one's actually a bit weaker than the other markets as it fell down more yesterday than the rest of the markets. So that same breakout line that we have in the S&P does exist in the NASDAQ. We would just put that line right here at 11,575. We've got a demand area below us on an hourly chart. It's a confirmation area of demand. And when I look at that confirmation area of demand right in here, it's a confirmation level because it was already hit once, right? And that's why it's a confirmation now. It's formed right around U.S. market open, so it's a pretty good time of the day, but it was already hit one time, which is what makes it that confirmation level. And it's this long lower green wick is where it was hit. Now, that still means that the breakout at 11,575 to 11,471 still gives you about 100 points worth of move for room to roam. So I think it still could be a pretty good setup. Now, if you want to find a supply level that's a little closer on a smaller time frame, very similar to the one that we did in the S&P, you still have this area here in the NASDAQ, which just broke down a few minutes ago on a bit of a retest. All right, take a look at the Russell right quick. So in the Russell 2000, same picture with this one that we had in the other markets. We had a demand level actually here in this one. And that, we had a little bit of basing there in front of the level, so certainly our reward to risk was already not the greatest. Now, this one we were looking at if we got more basing for potential upside breakout, and it just obviously cut right through that area of demand, didn't even slow down as it came right down below it. Did get a better rally on the Russell overnight than we did on some of our other markets, and I think that's just due to the fact that it's the different makeup of the different indices. The Globex low is all the way down here at 1535, so 30 points away. We've rallied up high off, not the Globex low, I'm sorry, yesterday's low. We've actually rallied up pretty far off of yesterday's low. But I don't know that in looking at this, this is if you got a more bullish feeling for today, this might be your better market to look for more bullish feelings. I don't know that it's that I see a lot of great demand below there to jump in and to take it. You've got a pretty decent little area of supply up here on a 15-minute chart where you could see a reversal if we kind of come up throughout the day. But also be aware that it is Friday, right? And in it's a Friday before a holiday weekend, and so you could see a lot more movement early in the day, but then nothing late in the day. All right, let's move to commodities. So in our commodities yesterday, crude oil, we got a nice little move down in crude that we had a supply level set up. We got one nice move away almost immediately off of that supply level. We got a second, if you missed it the first time, you got a second bite at the apple to take that short. So that crude level gave you two solid entries. For those of you that were in the live trade room yesterday, hopefully you caught that and turned it into a little bit of coin along with our breakdowns. So that was overall a pretty good trade. I'm going to remove it at this point. Did put in a little bit of strength down here. And so my next level of supply is really the origin of the move down way up here. That would be my next supply area on the 1-hour chart. On the 15-minute level, if we want to go a little bit smaller and say, are we building up a bit of base for price to go higher, I'd wonder if we get some basing above the Globex high with a chance for price to move higher off of this level. So keep an eye on price getting above that Globex high. In gold yesterday, we had another level set up, and our gold area of supply worked out extremely well as price came into this level, and we got a very strong move away. Now, it came back to what we thought could have been a breakdown trade, But we didn't get basing in front of the breakdown trade. So I'm still going to leave the breakdown area in place here. And our supply level worked out extremely well. So we rallied up into there and then got a very nice move away. So what I need to do now is delete this level. We're certainly not going to use this level again. And I'm going to leave the breakdown level intact right here. As far as our reversal trades, I don't really see a lot of great zones in here until I come all the way up to here on this 15-minute level. A lot more 15-minute levels, if you guys are noticing that we're finding a lot more 15-minute levels on some of these markets as well. All right. Let's move over to bonds and currencies. So in our bonds and currency market, our bond market came rocketing up yesterday. We had one of those wicks that it just popped right through the area of supply and then poked, I mean, just a tick above our stop, and then went exactly the way we thought we were going to go anyway. And you know, there's just nothing good about that. It just frustrates the heck out of you. I know it frustrates the heck out of me. But our rules say that our stop goes above the pivot when we have a rally. When we have this wick over wick level with a pivot high, our stop goes above the pivot. So our stop there just above 139.28, and our market yesterday came to 139.29. So literally just a tick above before then reversing and coming back down out of it. So the level itself actually was a good level. Structurally, it was sound. Unfortunately, the stop just didn't hold. You need to give it a little bit more wiggle room depending on where you place your stop. Now, you may have still been in it and got a nice little run out of that zone. On the 4 hour, though, we've now put in a little bit more strength on our 4 hour trend. And so our 4 hour trend showing some very, very strong clean swings, and matter of fact, quite the trend channel, very aggressive trend channel, if you will, on this 4 hour as it's moved back up. Now we've gone, if you think about this trend channel as wholesale, retail, wholesale, retail, wholesale, retail, it's bounced back to a wholesale price, and oftentimes that means it's going to move back up to a retail price. And I would think that you've got a decent little area of supply here that may act as a target for if price rallies back up. So look for a potential breakout in here on a smaller time frame to get us back to that level. And I think that would make the most sense if we get basing somewhere below here, looking for a small time frame breakout to get us back up into this region. In the Aussie, so our Aussie level yesterday, we hit our 1 hour Aussie supply level, got a very nice move away from there. So once again, that's another one. Hopefully, if you were in the live trade room, you were able to catch and get a little bit from there. Our move is continuing down on our 4 hour chart. And our 4 hour chart, we see that this, I think, is now going to be, this is kind of a line of control right here. I don't have a clean breakdown line here based on price yet, but I think that if we do break down below here, prices, in my mind, overall prices just look like they're going to continue to fall. So I'm going to put the breakdown line here, though it's not as clean as what I looked at on the 4 hour using this as resistance. I'm going to put this breakdown line at 72.53, and that's where we would need to see the basing in order for that price to make sense. I'm going to remove some of these other lines that are a bit further away. In the euro, so in our euro level, we had a super close level in here. I did get a couple of people that got into that position as it was fairly close to an entry here. You got a nice little move away. Second time in, but since we got that close, if you didn't get filled, the second time in has to switch to confirmation, which means you don't get filled, right? Because price pops right through there before giving you an entry. So now I still have a supply level up above me that's fairly clean, up there at 1.1904 by 1.1915 for a possible reversal. When I look at this one, I see it's fairly sideways. I don't know that I'd want to do a whole lot with this one today. I think you've got better opportunities in your other currency markets, and our trend is it's kind of meh, right? And that's a technical trading term, meh. There's not a whole lot going on here, and so I think I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to leave the levels that I have in place, but not add anything new. Canadian dollar yesterday came super duper close to getting filled and was, as they say in baseball, just a bit outside as it came close to the zone. That then forces this to switch to a confirmation entry, which means that we've got a nice reversal and you probably shouldn't be in it. Based on our rules, it doesn't make sense to be in it. Now, if you did get in it and didn't follow the rules, then, manage your stop accordingly. These are actually three very strong reversal candlesticks. And I'm okay. I'm okay if you say, you know what, Chuck, I want to get in this thing because I think it's going to fall. Just being in it now with a stop above this wick, because it would essentially it's a candle to candle style of trade, right? And so right now your entry would have been right here anyway, so you're right about there. And it depends on, hopefully I can get this video out in the next few minutes and price hasn't moved too much from that level. Great British Pound. So in our Great British Pound's another one on our 15-minute chart, because remember we found this one on a 15. Price came into the level. We got a fairly nice move away from that zone, and then it kind of stalled the rest of the day. You had another opportunity to get in here, but this was certainly would have been a confirmation trade by this point. And so that level worked out really well for about a 3-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 reward to risk. And all of that was put into the trade updates yesterday. So the trade feed update, hopefully you guys were keeping an eye on that as Traders Army members to see where we're looking at those moves. And what I'm looking at today tells me that I'm not going to really add anything to my charts, kind of like I did in the Euro. I don't feel like there's a lot of great levels here for me to lean on. You've got a decent 15-minute area right here. If you're going to want to add one, I think that would be the one worth adding. But that's about the only one in there. And then Japanese yen, well, that just cut through our level yesterday like a knife through butter as it went right through our first area of supply. Didn't even give it any love. Didn't even, buy me a drink first. Nothing. Went right through it. But the second level actually gave you a little bit of about a 2-to-1 move away, and then it went sideways. So the second level, while it did wind up working out as a move away, wound up being a fairly weak move away. And so like some of our other currencies, this one I'm not adding a whole lot to, especially on a Friday afternoon. I'm gonna leave my bigger picture levels intact. So I know we covered a lot today. Remember, on a Friday, always protect your profits that you've made throughout the week by keeping a close eye on the afternoon movements. We will have our next live trading room on Monday evening for Traders Army members. Remember, it's a holiday weekend, so our live trade room will be Monday evening. And our next daily market commentary will be out Tuesday of next week. So I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Enjoy the Labor Day holiday here in the U.S., and I will talk to you all soon. See ya.